Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Empower Podcast, a podcast run by healthcare professionals for healthcare professionals, with a goal of raising transparency and awareness, with a goal as of July 11th to have legislation passed in the state of Colorado mandating employers to provide and support employee wellness programs, which would include and not be limited to a minimum of 2 wellness days per quarter, a minimum deposit in an HSA account per quarter, and the establishment of a retaliation department run by a third party for all healthcare systems. That would be the part of the program. Do you know anyone in healthcare that is a professional in any way, shape, or form who would benefit from this podcast? If so, please invite them to check it out, especially if they're interested in employer-supported wellness and alternative therapy. Again, I am a registered nurse. This is no substitute for nursing advice, medical advice, or no substitute for any kind of therapy that would be recommended by any provider. Please see any of your PCP or any provider for that. And that is for any other future episodes as well. Our goal is to continue running this podcast with healthcare professionals at the helm. And we're always looking for new voices to join the conversation. Even if your friends are just curious, they can listen on their preferred platform of choice and send feedback to the Empower email. That's the word Empower. That's Echo Mike Papa Oscar Whiskey Echo Romeo. And then the letter A is an alpha, so Empower, then the number 1 at proton.me. This is, believe it or not, the finale after the finale. Welcome back. Thank you for all your support. You know, we couldn't do it without great listeners like you. We're, again, a podcast run by healthcare professionals for healthcare professionals. Today, our guest is JPNA. Hi, JPNA. You're coming to us from where?
Philadelphia!
All right.
All right, good morning, man, now! America watches 4th of July on Tuesday. Woo!
What was that?
2023, baby.
Oh,
2023.
That's it, 2023. We encourage our listeners to share their experiences anonymously if they'd like. If you prefer, you can email us at the Empower email. Again, that's the word Empower. And the letter A is an alpha, 1 at proton.me. Also, we're looking for volunteers and team members that would like to be able to assist from the community with day-to-day functionings of this, and any recommendation and or sponsorship if you know of. We'd like to grow this as much as possible. If you're enjoying it, you can definitely go ahead and DM me on Twitter, which is my handle is B as in Bravo, U as in uniform, _, A as in Alpha, R as in Romeo, T as in Tango, 22. So that's 22. And then go ahead, JPNA, if you want to go ahead and mention your handle as well. JPNA has been on board with me since March.
At the @ Joppa Papa November Alpha Sierra Oscar Charlie.
Can you say it?
Alpha Tango Echo Sierra, or JPNA and then Associates without the second A.
Yep. And you can find him on LinkedIn as well. And you can find the Empower Podcast on LinkedIn as well. It's a new update of a platform we're on as well. Please go ahead and go on there as well as another area of outreach to be able to be a part of that. So with that, also, we're looking to also let you know, this being, some people are asking, when is season 3 going to happen? It's kind of up in the air right now. We're going to be narrowing that down when we can. We're trying to encourage people, if we can, to go ahead and look at our current content. We do have some other potential people that will be coming on here that do want to express their overall involvement within the community and alternatives that are out there. Again, not any kind of substitute for any nursing advice, medical advice, or legal advice, or financial advice in any way, shape, or form, as we are available to, and we are part of the crypto Twitter community. But I'm also starting a movement, which is the Beyond Crypto Twitter community. That's just on the side there. Just wanted to do that, mention that. So you can follow us on your preferred platform of choice and stay informed and empowered in this ever-changing landscape of healthcare. So sit back, be yourself no matter what, and get ready to be empowered. All right, JPNA. This is the part where we give a big thank you out at the beginning of the show to all members of the healthcare team. We all know you're out there. You know who you are. We love you. You're number 1. We didn't know if there's anyone especially that you'd like to give an outreach to at this time.
Absolutely. So there's my aunt, Gail Monticello. She used to be an OR nurse, an ER nurse, many, many moons ago. I guess back in the 90s, she had the carpal tunnel syndrome, both wrists. She was a OR nurse for many, many years, so she knows the stuff that seemed like decades ago in terms of technology, but it's only 40 years ago.
Wow. I had actually a past guest. There was a past one. It was Linda. If you haven't seen it too, she was the original finale. She even talked about that, and her one friend that she had mentioned, it was one of her quotes. I believe it was Leanne was the name. Said, "Once a nurse, always a nurse," and I believe Leanne has her own program too. Yeah, but wow, I love that shout out. This is the part where I literally ask myself, Brett, does this person here make you feel empowered? I can ask that to myself anytime. Usually I wait till later, but just that overall story and your shout out already, David. I just want to acknowledge just how much that really touches and moves and inspires me to just continue on with this and continue to be able to have people share. So thank you for that. And yes, I do feel empowered. So can you tell us a little bit about what kind of brought you into healthcare? And like maybe what part of the field that you were exposed to?
Oh, absolutely. Where do I start? I was born in Jeonju City, South Korea in 1979. Apparently South Korea is way, way advanced in medical technology, and even in the late 70s. I have a very mild case of, and here just disclaimer, this is the actual diagnoses: left hemiplegia, hyperspastic cerebral palsy, meaning I have the scar on my right hand side of my head by the cerebral cortex, but affects the whole left side of my body. So, with that being said, I was, as an infant, gone to Children's Hospital. I've seen the neurologist. I've seen the orthopedic specialist. I've had CT scans. Every 3 months, I had a grand mal seizure for 11 years. Had a double hernia operation when I was 6 years old. Trust me, when one of your testicles get caught in a muscle up in that groin area, it hurts. And I had 2 of them.
I can totally relate. Identifying as a male, when that happens, it is close to the automatic reset button on your car.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
take off the electricity and just go spaz.
It's usually sometimes where that ends up in there. Hopefully yours was not from that. Usually in life it's had historically where that part of the anatomy ends up in that location. It's usually from a blunt force, but yours wasn't. Hopefully. Not to joke around about you. I'm just trying to be humorous here too, just to bring it back. But yeah.
Absolutely. Nothing wrong here.
Awesome. All right. That's great. Yeah.
I was 6 years old. So, I mean,
yeah.
When a 6-year-old doubles down in pain by, something getting stuck up there, it kind of worries.
That's a whole new world, I think, when it happens when you're at a younger age. When you're an adult, you're like I said, the majority of the times when that usually happens for a man, historically, usually the rationale is pretty quick. Hopefully. But, but and sometimes it has to settle. But no, in that case, wow, I can only imagine that, especially being able to just have quality of life, just overall quality of life at that age, that's something in and of itself, especially, growing up and being if the word is I'd like to use it, being transplanted, and that's what we use for plants, right. So that's the way I kind of look at it, but yeah.
I'll give you a little historical background on Bucks County in the 1980s.
Now, can you give our listeners Bucks County? Where's that?
Bucks County is a 30 to 45 minute trip north of Philadelphia, northeast Philadelphia.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So it's right above Philadelphia. Washington Crossing is Yardley. I grew up in Fairhouse Hills, which is about 15 minutes due south of that. By car, of course.
Wow. Okay.
So I came into fruition of being an adopted child or infant from Catholic Social Services. That's how they did things back then. There was no internet. It was a 5-year process for parents who wanted to adopt children, and I was the lucky chosen one. I was told I chose them, but I beg to differ.
Mm.
Yeah. So with my diagnoses, I was on phenobarbital very early and young. I forget the dosage now. It's been 43 years. Then I moved to Tegretol. Then I moved to Dilantin. Then I moved to a combination of Dilantin and Tegretol. And when I was 16, I was taken off the medicine. Like I said earlier, I had a grand mal seizure every 3 months on the clock for 11 years.
Wow.
I would grow in spurts. So I'm 5'5" now, or 5.5", whatever. I care less than a half. But as I grew like bamboo. Really. Seriously, that's how I grew. And because muscle and tendons don't grow that quick, they shrink. They're like a rubber band. Well, every year, I had the same damn cast. I couldn't go out in the water, couldn't play in the street, when it rained, I had to wear a bag on my foot. It was embarrassing. To boot, I don't know how much your audience knows about cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
It's electrical muscle condition.
Mm-hmm. Good, sure.
And the my gait at the time when I was, let's say, 8, was up in, and the knee would go in and the hip would go out because the foot turned in. When my parents opted to get the Achilles cord extension surgery, again, like my Achilles cord is like a rubber band, so they nicked the Achilles cord. I do have proof. I just took a picture of my surgery, the scar. You don't see it now, but it was very pronounced when I was 13. And yeah, I know about the Dilantin and the Tegretol because every 3 hours I had to take 1.5 pills of this or 1 pills of that, or the Dilantin you can't cut in half, so you took a whole capsule, and then you have some more capsule for a different dosage. But you had to make sure that you got that, and make sure you don't have pills like that on before cats get to them, they die. Unfortunately, it had happened once to one of my mom's cats, and it really pissed her off. Yeah, well, I wasn't. I was a very different person back then, Brad.
Oh yeah, no, hey, ditto. I think, but you know what?
Yeah,
have you seen growth in yourself? That's the last question. I think that's the real question.
I have.
I really have when it comes to that.
I'm not the same petty 19-year-old I was. I'm a lot more tamer and more mellow today than I ever was, and I think at that age, and Brett, you can probably relate to this because you were 19 at one time. You have your testosterone raging.
Oh yeah, 120%. 120%. That's why they have chaperones. Right. They have chaperones for that very reason, and I totally get it. It makes total sense.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Hey, wait. We could easily go off. So, folks, I've talked for hours with our guest here, so I want to just revisit this, and I want to get to the big question here if we can. And if you have to go off and just continue on where you're at, and I was right, I just want to make sure I say the question, because this is the big question here on the Empower Podcast, folks, and that is, JPNA, what, in your opinion, is happening in healthcare?
Consolidation. That's happening across multiple industries, but a lot in the medical field. You have a lot of hospitals that are closing down. Underserving populations in those communities can't go there, can't go to the bigger hospitals. They charge too much, or their insurance is accepted, or whatever other reason you imagine it's there. I'll give you an example. My mom had a 1984 Cavalier station wagon with a very, very stiff steering. She had to drive me every 3 months down to Chapman Hospital, which is on, if I still remember, 34th and University Avenue down in, it's not Center City, but it's considered Center City. It's where University Penn is and Chapman, all that is.
Okay.
And she would dread the drive. Now, Schuylkill Expressway is a lot different then than it is now. There was never flyover ramp. You literally played Frogger across 3 lanes of traffic at one ramp to the other side.
There's no crosswalk?
That's why she was saying she dreaded that. I said, yeah, Mom, I understand it. I get it. So, you know, my mom was a very, very powerful force in my life.
Yeah.
And if I come off a little feminine, well, that's because although I had my dad in my life, and he was a very supportive father, he brought the bacon home, and he was there. He was at every play that was, everything like that, and a little more. You know, kind of what the fathers are expected to today. That's what he was back then. And I never saw him for that. When my dad died in 2007, my mom went home for taking half an hour shower. My dad smoked for four packs a day for 48 years.
Oof.
He agreed to intubation. He went under and she never saw him again. I was called that day on 4/11/2007. My uncle walked in. Said, Dave, you gotta leave. I said, why? I was at work. Comp USA for all things. It ties in. I work IT now.
Mm-hmm.
So I went in and he passed right in front of me. I never had to say goodbye. But at least I was there. There was nothing they could do.
Yeah.
His left lung was full of tar.
Yeah.
He was only living on a quarter of a lung of fat in the right lung.
Yeah. Wow. 4 packs is aggressive, yeah. If I may share, my grandfather, he was a tire salesman. He used to smoke 3 packs a day. And then he went cold turkey. And I'll never forget back when I was in college. As soon as he knew I was smoking, I went through like a pack. And this was nursing school, so what happened? I went through a pack in like 3 months, and he still went and bought my brother and me. He bought me and him this bag, you know, the mints you can buy in bulk. He got a bag of those because that's how he got off. But like, wow, 4. I'm not trying to steal the stage here either, you know, but I'm just trying to share that you're right though. Yeah. Historically and generationally, that was one of their copings. The cigarettes, man. Yeah. And
so at the time, I was smoking Marlboro black shorts, pack and half a day. I was working at the DOT. Mm-hmm. I was starting to work for the DOT in 2008. But like my dad, I started off with Newport 100s and went to Marlboro 100s, and I loved the taste of it's not the regular cigarette, it's the other one, menthols. Mm-hmm. I loved them. After that, I quit smoking pretty much completely forever. I've had smoked cigarettes here and there in my life, but that was a day to remember, and I'll never forget it.
Wow.
And the hospital was like,
I believe
this
you.
happens. Next.
Yeah.
Like, great, thanks. Like, my mom's high school sweetheart died on your table, and you said next. What the hell's wrong with you? Have some compassion. I mean, we're all human. I know you got a job.
David, if I may share, being a transporter, and I have no problem going on with this. I want to continue on with this. So I think I just texted you too. This may be an extended podcast. So for those who are listening, there may be a part 2 of this, and then we'll just go ahead and I'll meld them together. So, and even if I don't even need this, I'll cut this part out. But either way, wow, I agree that, so being a transporter, one of the jobs I'd have to do was being, would be morgue jobs. And some of them, you're right. I would have to we'd have a procedure to go on with that. And that is a point I think within the healthcare field that we could examine, because it's not the remediation part anymore. Like, the patient is gone. We'll declare it. The patient is gone, but the honoring of culture. And I think when I was back in school, and that's, time is one of the big ones. It can be. And in the setting that it's in, and I honestly think, this is beyond anything I learned in school, again, not nursing advice, but like, it's a different kind of an energy, when you're in that room and when that's happened, and when you share that experience with the nurse and all the people of the healthcare team. And when you do, whoever it is, that is the person that's like, next, you're right. But honestly, what I'm finding out, it's not the nurse. It's usually not any of that. It's the unseen is what I call them. The unseen.
It's management. I get that.
Yeah. And they have to do what they have to do. I get that. And it is the general public. I mean, there are statistics, but at the same time too, it's finding that healthy balance. And I think in your experience, it didn't work. I want to declare it didn't work.
No.
Nope.
My mom freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
She said, all I was doing is going home for 5 minutes and taking a shower. And he dies. That was her quote.
Yeah. Wow. That's all I have to say. Like, that's all I can really say. And that your experience matters. And this is, believe it or not, this is a declaration I want to say too, is this is a part of the patient experience. You're a family member of the patient, and that's part of the patient experience. And I'm not saying that there are family members, and I've seen this before, and I'll declare it on the show too. There are family members who come and they stay and they look for lodging and they look for food and they look for all of that. But when it comes to this moment, it can be something. Sometimes people don't even want to waste a minute to leave. So I totally get it. They want a snack or whatnot. Cool. Got it. Whole meals and lodging, different story. But in this kind of a situation at this moment, when this happens, and you can't plan it, you can't plan when somebody does pass. It happens. I found no pattern, if whatsoever. The only thing I have found, I know there's other nurses out there, and I'll say this on the show, they come in threes. At least from what I've found. Like, absolutely. No matter what happens, no matter what facility I've been at, and if you would have waited on that floor after the passing, I'm sure, like, for a week and a half, unless it was like one where that doesn't mainly happen, I've had that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. We could definitely have some improvement on the overall respect system and the cultural competence when it comes to death. Because sometimes we don't talk about death until it happens, And then it is
because we don't want to talk about it.
Yep, you're right. Societally, it may be just personal. It could be a number of factors. Correct. So here's my question then. And you already answered the one. You already stepped ahead, and that was any past or present incidents. Let me give you some time, David. There's nothing wrong here.
Thank you. He would have been 74.
Do you have a tissue? If not, I'm going to go on Amazon right now. I'm ordering you. And there's nothing wrong with tissues. There's absolutely nothing wrong. You're worth it. This is why we need donations and sponsorships. Come on, Kleenex. There's nothing wrong here at all either. Okay. You know what, David? Can I acknowledge you're one of the most self-expressed guests I've had on this podcast so far. that have even stepped up to the plate, wanted to come up here. And I really want to acknowledge you for that, because that takes a lot. I mean, I've been in spaces so far when I talk about self-expression, and it's challenged. It's challenged, not daily, not hourly. It's challenged by the nanosecond. And it's if you want it to be challenged, and you are fighting through it. And I want to acknowledge that. You're a freaking warrior, David.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't know what else is going on in your life. I don't. But whatever it is, and you want to step up here and you wanted to volunteer and contribute that back to the community, and to share what it is you've shared. Wow. And be as raw, authentic, and genuine. Like, this is what we need. This is what we could have in a community of people. This is community. As you start to do this, we work through so many different, and I'm not trying to branch off here. It's just what I feel is we work through so many different differences. We see how much, honestly, David, we have in common. It's a fingerprint, man. It's all different. There's not one fingerprint that's the same, but they are similar because we exist in certain ecosystems, right? With similar things that happen and throughout certain cycles that they do. Wow.
Yeah, I'm Generation X. I'm very tail end of it. I think you're what? The millennial generation?
Yeah. I'll let people know. I don't mind. Some people don't want to declare their age. Yeah, I'm 30. Hey, everybody, I'm 30. Yay. Now I have an episode of Friends or How I Met Your Mother or whatever else. Oh no, I need to run from 30. No. Potentially projected another 40 or 50 years. I want to keep fit, active, and live to be 100 and happy, says the person who posts on Instagram about Krispy Kreme. I know, but hey,
my grandma
everything in moderation.
Lived to 103. My grandma lived to 103.
Wow. My great grandmother lived to be 101. We're saying this, and now throughout the cosmos, there's probably like different species that are like, we must harvest their organs.
Actually, the funny thing is, she actually donated her body to PCOM.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. What is PCOM? Everybody's like, Brett, come on, PCOM.
Is
no, I know.
Philadelphia. I'll look it up. It's a medical society. She was a long-term medical secretary.
Wow. Hey, so, how are you looking to continue to give back, I guess, to the healthcare field in nursing and healing? I know I can already declare that you're already doing it with me and helping support me with the podcast, and being a part of the podcast and the overall Empowering Network.
Well, we're going to have another branch of the Power Podcast.
That's a good idea.
Dedicated to people with can't say it.
It's all right.
Schizophrenia. It's a mental disorder. We're going to have that one day a week.
Oh, schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia, yes.
I think, yeah, I wouldn't just make it based around that. If I could clarify on that, I'd love to, if we can tie that in and welcome anybody to come to the Empower community discussion that's held every Sunday.
Because that's mental and that's pharmaceutical.
From 6 to 8.
That's wellness.
Yep. And be able to share their experiences as to what's happening in the industry. I agree. I love it. All right. We'll definitely set that up again. From now on, it's the Empower community discussion too. That's going to be every Sunday from 6 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. And then, David, this is the part where we go ahead and we throw in an empowering quote. You know, if we can go ahead and close with that. That work?
Absolutely. Give me a moment.
Sure. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Yeah.
While he's looking for that, I just want to thank everybody for coming out for this episode. And David, I just want to extend out to you. Thank you for coming here and just sharing what it is you've totally shared. Thank you.
Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord. Depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. That's